Deep in the frozen expanse of Siberia, hidden beneath dense forests and forgotten by time, lie secrets carved in stone, monuments so massive and mysterious they defy explanation. Imagine standing before towering walls of rock, each block weighing dozens of tons, perfectly fitted together without a trace of mortar. Who built them? How and why here, in one of the most remote and inhospitable places on Earth? These are the unanswered questions that surround Siberia's megalithic structures, ancient enigmas that challenge everything we think we know about the past. Megaliths, monumental stones crafted by human hands, have fascinated us for centuries. From Stonehenge to the pyramids, these awe-inspiring creations dot the globe, whispering stories of lost civilizations and forgotten technologies. But while sites like Easter Island or Machu Picchu draw crowds and cameras, Siberia's megaliths remain shrouded in obscurity. Scattered across this vast wilderness, they stand as silent witnesses to a history we're only beginning to unravel. Some appear to be fortresses, others temples or observatories, but none come with a manual. No ancient texts describe their purpose. No local legends fully explain their origins. They simply exist, daring us to uncover their truths. This is a journey into the unknown, a chance to explore 25 of Siberia's most baffling megalithic wonders. We'll venture into valleys where giants once roamed, or so it seems, and examine stones cut with precision that rivals modern engineering. Along the way, you'll encounter theories that range from the plausible to the extraordinary. Were these structures built by an advanced ancient culture? Could they hold clues to a civilization wiped clean by time? Or are we looking at something even more unexpected? The answers, like the stones themselves, are waiting to be uncovered. So grab your virtual explorer's hat. We're about to step into a world where history and mystery collide. In the southern reaches of Siberia, where the taiga gives way to rugged mountains, lies one of the continent's most perplexing sights, the Gornaya Shoria megaliths. Towering over the landscape like remnants of a forgotten world, these colossal stone blocks defy belief. Some weigh hundreds of tons, stacked with such precision that even a razor blade can't slip between them. At first glance, they resemble ruins, perhaps the foundations of an ancient fortress or a temple lost to time. But look closer and the mystery deepens. The angles are too sharp, the surfaces too smooth. Could these be the work of human hands or something far more enigmatic? Locals call this place Russia's Machu Picchu, not for its similarity in design, but for the sense of awe it inspires. Unlike the famed Incan citadel, however, Gornaya Shoria lacks any clear historical record. No carvings, no artifacts, no written accounts, just the stones themselves, silent and stoic. What makes them even more puzzling is their sheer scale. The largest block is estimated to weigh over 3,000 tons, rivaling the monoliths of Baalbek. Moving something so massive would challenge modern machinery, let alone the primitive tools we assume ancient cultures possessed. And yet, here they are, nestled in a region where winter temperatures plunge to -40 degrees, as if daring us to explain them. Geologists have weighed in, suggesting these formations might be the result of natural fracturing, a rare but possible phenomenon where seismic activity splits rock into unnaturally straight lines. But that theory stumbles when confronted with the block's near-perfect right angles and fitted joints. If nature carved these stones, why do they look so deliberate? Adding to the intrigue are local Caucasus legends, which speak of giants who once roamed these lands, building structures beyond human capability. Could there be a kernel of truth hidden in these myths, or are they merely attempts to explain the unexplainable? What's undeniable is the absence of thorough archaeological study. Unlike Egypt's pyramids or Peru's Nazca lines, Gornaya Shoria hasn't been scrutinized by teams of experts. The remote location, harsh climate, and limited funding have left the site largely untouched. For now, the megaliths remain an open question, a riddle written in stone, waiting for someone bold enough to decipher it. Whether natural wonder or artificial marvel, one thing is certain: Gornaya Shoria refuses to surrender its secrets easily. Far to the northwest, in the windswept tundra of the Komi Republic, stand 7 silent sentinels of stone, the Manpupuner monoliths. Rising abruptly from the flat, barren landscape, these towering pillars reach heights of up to 40 meters, their jagged silhouettes cutting starkly against the sky. Unlike the fitted blocks of Gornaya Shoria, these formations appear almost organic, as if some ancient force had thrust them upward from the earth itself. To the indigenous Mansi people, they are more than just geological oddities. They are sacred, imbued with legends that blur the line between myth and memory. The local name, Manpupuner, translates to Little Mountain of the Gods, a testament to their spiritual significance. Mansi folklore tells of a band of giants who once sought to cross the Ural Mountains, only to be turned to stone by the shaman of a rival tribe. The 7 largest giants became these very pillars, forever frozen in their march across the tundra. It's a haunting tale, one that lends an air of otherworldliness to an already surreal landscape. Even today, visitors speak of an uncanny stillness here, as if the stones themselves are holding their breath. Geologists offer a less poetic but equally fascinating explanation. These monoliths are the remnants of ancient seabed, sculpted over millions of years by relentless winds and ice. What was once soft sediment hardened into rock, and weaker layers eroded away, leaving behind these resilient towers. Yet this scientific account doesn't quite dispel the mystery. Why 7? Why here? The symmetry feels deliberate, as though nature itself arranged them with purpose. And then there's their eerie isolation, no other formations like them for hundreds of kilometers, standing alone in a vast and empty wilderness. Visiting Manpupuner is no small feat. The journey requires traversing miles of untracked terrain, where sudden storms and biting cold are constant companions. Perhaps that's why these monoliths remained hidden from the wider world for so long, known only to the Mansi and the occasional intrepid explorer. Even now, their remoteness preserves an aura of the untouched, a place where time moves differently. Some who have stood beneath the pillars report a strange sense of being watched, as if the giants of legend still linger, observing from their stony perches. Whether viewed through the lens of science or folklore, the Manpupuner monoliths defy easy categorization. They are a geological marvel, a cultural touchstone, and an enduring enigma all at once. Unlike the quarried precision of other megaliths, their power lies in their raw, untamed presence, ancient, indifferent, and utterly unyielding. In a land where myths walk hand in hand with reality, they stand as a reminder that some mysteries are meant to endure. Tucked away in the dense forests of Irkutsk, where the taiga swallows the horizon, rises a structure so bizarre it seems ripped from the pages of science fiction, the Patomsky crater. This massive, cone-shaped mound of shattered limestone blocks stretches nearly 80 meters across, its jagged edges jutting skyward like the ribs of some ancient beast. Locals call it the nest of the fire eagle, a name steeped in legend, but scientists have spent decades grappling with a far more pressing question: what force of nature, or something beyond nature, could have created this? The crater's discovery in the mid-20th century sent shockwaves through the geological community. At first glance, it resembles a collapsed volcanic vent, yet there's no evidence of volcanic activity anywhere in the region. Others speculated it might be the scar of a meteorite impact, but the absence of telltale melted rock or shock-fractured minerals quickly ruled that out. Then there's the shape, unlike any natural crater on record. Its walls are too symmetrical, its interior too structured, almost as if it were deliberately assembled. But by whom or what? One of the most compelling theories suggests a violent methane explosion, a pocket of gas trapped beneath the Earth's surface that ignited under pressure, blasting the limestone skyward. Yet even this explanation leaves gaps. The energy required to fracture and lift such massive blocks would dwarf any known natural gas event. And why does the crater's magnetic field fluctuate so unpredictably, as if something beneath the stone still hums with latent energy? Adding to the intrigue are the indigenous Evenki people's stories. Their elders speak of a firebird that once descended from the heavens, its touch scorching the earth and leaving behind this unnatural scar. Could these tales hold a kernel of truth, an ancestral memory of some cataclysmic event modern science hasn't yet decoded? Research expeditions to the site face daunting challenges. The crater sits in one of Siberia's most remote regions, accessible only by helicopter or a grueling multi-day trek. Permafrost locks the ground for much of the year, and when the thaw comes, the area becomes a swampy labyrinth. Even with these obstacles, scientists persist, driven by the crater's refusal to fit neatly into any textbook category. What's undeniable is the uncanny aura that clings to the Patomsky crater. Visitors describe a peculiar stillness broken only by the occasional crack of shifting stones, a reminder that this structure, whatever its origins, is far from inert. Whether a geological anomaly, a cosmic mystery, or something even more extraordinary, the crater stands as a defiant question mark in the wilderness, daring us to uncover its secrets. High in the Sayan Mountains, where the air thins and the landscape turns jagged, another Siberian enigma waits, a sprawling collection of granite slabs so massive they seem to defy gravity. Some of these stones tip the scales at over 1,000 tons, their surfaces etched with precise grooves and angles that look anything but random. This is the Sayan Megalithic Complex, a site that blurs the line between natural wonder and man-made marvel, leaving researchers divided over its origins. The moment you lay eyes on these slabs, one question burns in your mind. How could anyone in any era manipulate granite on this scale? The rock itself is among the hardest on Earth, requiring diamond-tipped tools to cut with modern technology. Yet here, in this remote alpine wilderness, are stones bearing what appear to be deliberate marks, straight lines intersecting at perfect angles, channels carved with uncanny consistency. Some slabs resemble half-finished pillars, as if the builders walked away mid-project, leaving behind clues to their methods. Mainstream archaeologists remain skeptical, attributing these features to natural fracturing or glacial activity. They argue that frost wedging, a process where water seeps into cracks, freezes, and splits rock, could explain some of the geometric patterns, but that theory struggles to account for the sheer uniformity of the markings. Natural fractures tend to follow the rock's grain, erratic and uneven. The Sayan slabs, by contrast, show grooves that align with mathematical precision, some forming near-perfect 90-degree turns. Independent researchers, on the other hand, point to these features as potential evidence of lost technology. They highlight similarities to other ancient megalithic sites, like Puma-Punku in Bolivia or the Serapeum of Saqqara in Egypt, where stonework of comparable precision exists. Could the Sayan builders have employed techniques we've yet to rediscover? Some even speculate about the use of sound or vibration to soften stone, a concept dismissed by mainstream science but persistent in fringe theories. Local Tuvan herders, whose ancestors have inhabited these mountains for centuries, offer a different perspective. Their oral traditions speak of a time when sky people descended to shape the land, imbuing certain stones with sacred power. While these stories are often brushed aside as myth, they raise an intriguing point. If the Sayan slabs aren't natural, their creators left no written record, no tools, no trace beyond the stones themselves. The debate may never settle, at least not without further study. The complex's remote location and harsh climate have kept it off the radar of large-scale excavations. For now, the slabs remain an open puzzle, their strange markings a silent challenge to our understanding of history. Whether the work of ancient engineers, geological oddities, or something even more mysterious, one thing is clear: the Sayan Mountains hold secrets we've only begun to scratch. Nestled in the southern Ural Mountains, a ring of standing stones casts long shadows across the Siberian steppe, a sight so strikingly familiar it's earned the nickname Russia's Stonehenge. But this isn't some half-hearted imitation. The Ural Mountains circle, with its rough-hewn monoliths arranged in a near-perfect ring, carries its own aura of mystery. Some slabs tilt at deliberate angles, while others stand arrow-straight, their surfaces weathered but unbroken by centuries of biting winds. Like its British cousin, this structure aligns with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, and the rising of certain stars, sparking fierce debate over whether it's a deliberate astronomical observatory or merely a freak of geology. The similarities to Stonehenge are undeniable, yet the differences are just as telling. While England's iconic monument features precisely cut sarsen stones, the Ural slabs are cruder, their shapes dictated by natural fractures. But crude doesn't mean accidental. Indigenous Bashkir legends describe the site as a meeting place for ancient shamans, where rituals were timed to the movements of the heavens. Local researchers have mapped the stones' positions against the night sky, noting how gaps between them frame key constellations during specific seasons. One alignment in particular marks the summer solstice sunrise with uncanny accuracy, a feature unlikely to occur by chance. Skeptics, however, counter that glacial movement could have dragged these stones into their current arrangement. They point to other scattered boulders in the region, arguing that the circle might just be a cluster left behind by retreating ice ages. But this explanation stumbles when confronted with the site's celestial synchronicity. Glaciers don't carve sightlines for solstices, people do. Then there's the matter of the central slab, a flat, altar-like stone etched with faint symbols that resemble archaic star charts. Weathering patterns suggest these markings are ancient, though their exact age remains unverified. What's missing, frustratingly, is definitive proof of human intervention. Unlike Stonehenge, with its well-documented construction phases and nearby burial mounds, the Ural site lacks associated artifacts or settlement remains. No tools, no pottery shards, no charcoal layers to carbon date. This absence fuels the controversy, leaving the stones suspended between history and geology. Perhaps the most compelling clue lies in the stars themselves. The Urals sit at a latitude where certain celestial events, like the aurora borealis, appear with dazzling clarity. For a culture attuned to the sky, this ring, whether built or borrowed from nature, would have been a living calendar, a way to track time, seasons, and maybe even celestial omens. Whether the work of human hands or a happy geological accident, one thing's certain: when the solstice sun rises between those stones, casting long, deliberate shadows, it's hard to believe no one was watching. The Altai Mountains, where Russia, Mongolia, and China converge, hold a secret as stark as it is beautiful fields of gleaming white stones, polished to a mirror-like finish, scattered across valleys like fragments of another world. These are the so-called white stones, megaliths unlike any others in Siberia. Their surfaces are unnaturally smooth, catching the sunlight with an otherworldly sheen, while their placement, often clustered in open clearings or arranged in loose circles, hints at purpose rather than chance. In a land shaped by nomadic herders and shifting empires, these stones stand apart, silent witnesses to rituals lost in time. What sets the white stones apart isn't just their appearance but their isolation. Unlike the quarried blocks of Gornaya, Shoria, or the towering pillars of Manpupuner, these megaliths seem almost sculpted, their edges rounded by human hands or something else. Local archaeologists note that the rock itself isn't native to the spots where the stones rest. Some were dragged from quarries miles away, an astonishing feat for a region where ancient peoples were traditionally thought to be transient. The effort suggests these weren't mere markers but objects of veneration, perhaps tied to celestial events or burial rites, Among the Altai's nomadic cultures, white has always held sacred significance, a color symbolizing purity, the divine, and the barrier between worlds. The stone's reflective surfaces might have served as primitive mirrors, catching the first or last light of the sun during solstices, turning them into natural altars. Petroglyphs found nearby depict shamans mid-ritual, their arms outstretched toward similar-shaped stones, fueling theories that these were sites of vision quests or spirit communication. One particularly striking slab, nicknamed the Moonstone, bears faint carvings of spirals and concentric circles, symbols found in sacred sites from Ireland to Anatolia, hinting at a shared symbolic language across continents. Yet mysteries linger. Why do some stones show signs of deliberate heating, their surfaces cracked as if exposed to intense fire? Were they part of purification rituals, or could they have been used to forge tools or metals, their whiteness masking a practical function? The debate is split. Some researchers argue the stone's polish comes from centuries of wind and water, not human labor. Others counter that natural erosion couldn't explain their uniform smoothness or the way they cluster in patterns echoing star constellations. The Altai nomads, descendants of the Scythians and other ancient cultures, still whisper of the stone's power. Elderly herders avoid them at night, speaking of whispers on the wind when the moon is high. Whether reverence or superstition, these tales underscore a truth. The white stones aren't just geological oddities, they're portals to a worldview where the physical and spiritual were inseparable, where a polished rock might bridge the gap between earth and sky. With no written records to decode their purpose, we're left to piece together their story, one gleaming fragment at a time. Along the winding Lena River in eastern Siberia, a wall of rock rises like a fortress of nature's own design, the Lena Pillars. These jagged limestone columns, some soaring over 100 meters high, form a sheer cliff face that stretches for kilometers, their weathered contours glowing amber in the sunset. Officially recognized by UNESCO as a natural wonder, the pillars are a geological masterpiece sculpted over millions of years by freezing winters, relentless winds, and the river's patient caress. But peel back the layers of time, and you'll find hints that this site may have been far more than just a scenic marvel to the people who once called these lands home. Etched into the base of these pillars are ancient petroglyphs, crude yet evocative drawings of hunting scenes, strange humanoid figures, and animals long vanished from the region. These carvings, dating back thousands of years, suggest the Lena Pillars were a canvas for storytelling, a place where generations recorded their myths and memories. Even more intriguing are the recurring symbols, spirals, sunbursts, and what appear to be celestial maps. Could these markings indicate the pillars were part of a larger sacred complex, a place where the physical and spiritual worlds intersected? Local Yakut legends add fuel to the mystery. Oral traditions speak of the pillars as the Bear's Fence, a barrier built by ancestral spirits to imprison a mythical beast that once terrorized the land. Other tales describe them as petrified warriors, frozen in stone as punishment for defying the gods. Such stories, passed down through countless generations, blur the line between folklore and fragmented history. What's striking is how often these narratives return to a common theme: the pillars as a boundary, a divider between worlds. Geologists, of course, see a different story, one of ancient seabeds uplifted and eroded into these dramatic spires. The limestone itself is a fossil archive packed with the remains of prehistoric marine life. Yet even science can't dismiss the uncanny regularity of the pillars' spacing, or the way their shadows at certain times of year align with nearby cave systems, some of which bear signs of ritual use. Could natural processes have conspired to create a landscape that ancient peoples then sanctified? The Lena Pillars stand at a crossroads of wonder where geology, archaeology, and mythology collide. Unlike Siberia's other megaliths, they're not controversial in their origins. Their formation is textbook, but their cultural significance, that's a puzzle still being pieced together. Whether viewed as a natural masterpiece, an open-air temple, or both, one thing's certain: these towering sentinels of stone have watched over the Lena for epochs, keeping their secrets as close as the river keeps its currents. In the frozen heart of Yakutia, where winter grips the land for nearly 10 months each year, the Amga megaliths rise from the snow like a forgotten puzzle. These stacked stone formations, resembling the dolmens of Western Europe, defy the brutal Siberian elements, their flat, table-like slabs balanced precariously atop upright supports as if placed by giants. Unlike the towering monoliths of Gornaya Shoria or the eerie pillars of Manpupuner, the Amga structures are smaller, more intimate, yet no less enigmatic. Some stand solitary, others cluster in groups, their configurations hinting at a purpose lost to time. The most striking feature of these megaliths is their precision. The capstones, those massive, flat rocks resting atop the supports, often weigh several tons, yet they fit so snugly that centuries of howling winds and freezing temperatures haven't dislodged them. This precision has led researchers to speculate that they served as burial chambers, similar to dolmens found in Korea or the Caucasus. A handful of excavations have turned up fragmented bones and charcoal, but the evidence is sparse, eroded by millennia of frost and thaw. What remains is a maddening ambiguity. Were these tombs or something else entirely? One compelling theory ties the Amga megaliths to celestial events. Certain alignments suggest they might have functioned as primitive observatories, their gaps framing the rising sun during solstices or the positions of key stars. Indigenous Yakut elders speak of ancient star watchers who used stone markers to track the movements of the heavens, predicting seasonal shifts vital for survival in this unforgiving landscape. If true, these unassuming stacks of rock could represent an early form of astronomy, a way to navigate time itself in a place where seasons blur into one endless winter. Dating the megaliths is a challenge as formidable as the Siberian climate itself. Traditional methods like radiocarbon dating rely on organic material, which is scarce at the site. The few artifacts found: a chipped arrowhead here, a charred bone fragment there, suggest usage stretching back at least 3,000 years, but the stones themselves could be far older. Permafrost has preserved them in a kind of stasis, freezing them in time just as it preserves mammoths in nearby valleys. Without clearer evidence, their origins remain suspended between prehistory and legend. Local folklore offers tantalizing clues. The Yakuts tell of a race of stone people who built these structures before vanishing into the tundra, leaving behind only their handiwork. Another legend describes the megaliths as portals, thresholds where shamans could commune with spirits. These stories, passed down through generations, blur the line between myth and memory, hinting at a cultural significance that archaeology has yet to fully unravel. What's certain is the Amga megalith's resilience. In a land where even metal crumbles under the assault of ice, these stone sentinels endure, silent witnesses to a past we can only glimpse in fragments. Whether tombs, temples, or celestial guides, they stand as a testament to human ingenuity, or perhaps to forces we've yet to understand. For now, they keep their secrets locked in the perpetual cold of Yakutia's endless winter. In the vast, shifting expanse of the Chara Desert, where golden dunes roll like ocean waves under the Siberian sun, one sight stops travelers in their tracks: a solitary granite megalith, stark and unyielding against the soft sands. This massive block, roughly the size of a small house, looks impossibly out of place, as if dropped from the sky. How did it get here, in this sea of wind-sculpted grains, where no other stones of its kind exist for miles? Theories abound, each more intriguing than the last, but none offer a definitive answer. Geologists point to the last ice age as a possible culprit. Glaciers, they argue, could have carried this granite boulder from distant mountains, depositing it here when the ice retreated. It's a plausible explanation. Siberia's ancient glaciers were powerful enough to move far larger rocks. Yet the Chara sands lie outside typical glacial pathways, making this theory a stretch. Even more puzzling is the block's condition. Unlike glacial erratic rocks, which are usually rounded and scarred by their journey, this megalith bears sharp angles and flat surfaces, almost as if it was shaped by human hand. Local Evenki and Yakut legends offer a different take. Their oral histories tell of a time when giants roamed the land, building structures that defied reason. Some elders claim the megalith is a remnant of a grand gateway, part of a long-lost city buried beneath the dunes. While this might sound like pure myth, recent satellite imagery has revealed faint geometric patterns under the surrounding sand, lines too straight to be natural, hinting at something beneath the surface. Could these be the outlines of ancient foundations or mere tricks of light and shadow? Then there's the mystery of the megalith's composition. Granite isn't native to the Chara Basin. The nearest sources lie hundreds of kilometers away. Transporting a block this size without modern machinery would have required unimaginable effort, raising questions about who might have attempted it and why. Some researchers speculate it could be a navigational marker placed by a forgotten culture that once traversed these deserts. Others suggest it might have had ritual significance, a solitary altar in an otherwise barren landscape. What's undeniable is the eerie presence of the stone. Visitors describe a strange resonance when standing near it, a subtle vibration underfoot, as if the megalith hums with latent energy. Scientists dismiss this as imagination, attributing it to the desert's extreme temperature shifts. But for those who have felt it, the sensation lingers, blurring the line between geology and the unexplained. Whether glacial relic, ancient artifact, or something else entirely, the Chara Sands megalith stands as a riddle written in stone. In a desert defined by impermanence, where dunes shift and reshape with every storm, it remains stubbornly constant, a silent witness to the passage of epochs. Until someone uncovers the truth, it will keep its secrets waiting in the golden silence of the sands. Rising from the turquoise waters of Lake Baikal, the shaman rocks of Olkhon Island stand as silent guardians of an ancient spiritual legacy. These towering limestone formations, weathered into jagged spires by centuries of wind and waves, pulse with a sacred energy that has drawn pilgrims to their base for generations. To the indigenous Buryat people, these are not mere geological oddities, they are the very heartbeat of the land, a nexus where the physical and spiritual worlds collide. At the center of this reverence is Cape Birken, home to the most famous of the shaman rocks. Its twin peaks, split by a dramatic crevice, frame a natural cave that hums with legend. Buryat shamans believe this cavern serves as a portal to the spirit realm, a place where the veil between worlds grows thin. For centuries, rituals have been performed here, offerings of milk, grain, and colored ribbons left to flutter in the Siberian wind, each a prayer carried to the gods. Even today, visitors report an uncanny stillness in the air, broken only by the occasional whisper of waves against stone, as if the rocks themselves are listening. The lore surrounding these formations runs deep. One prominent myth tells of Khan Koto Babai, a powerful spirit said to reside within the largest rock. According to tradition, he judges the souls of the departed, deciding who may pass into the afterlife. Another legend speaks of 9 sons of the sky god Tengri, who descended to Olkhon and turned themselves into stone to protect the island from malevolent forces. These stories aren't just folklore, they're woven into the fabric of Buryat identity, shaping how the landscape is understood and honored. What makes the shaman rocks especially fascinating is their role in astronomical alignment. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, the setting sun slips perfectly between the 2 main spires, casting a beam of light directly into the cave's mouth. This phenomenon, witnessed by few outsiders, reinforces the Buryat belief in the rocks as a cosmic conduit. Researchers have noted similarities to other sacred sites worldwide: Stonehenge's solstice alignment, Machu Picchu's sun temples, hinting at a universal human impulse to mark the heavens' rhythms in stone. Yet for all their mystical allure, the shaman rocks face modern threats. Tourism, while bringing awareness, risks eroding the site's sanctity. Visitors sometimes ignore taboos, entering the cave without permission or pocketing stones as souvenirs, acts considered deeply offensive to local traditions. In response, Buryat elders have doubled efforts to educate outsiders, emphasizing that these formations aren't just photo backdrops but living entities in their cultural cosmology. Standing before these weathered sentinels, it's impossible not to feel the weight of their history. Whether viewed through the lens of faith or geology, they embody a truth echoed across Siberia's megaliths. Some places hold power beyond explanation. The shaman rocks don't just guard Olkhon's shores, they guard the stories, the fears, and the hopes of those who have whispered prayers into the wind for centuries. In their shadow, the past feels palpably close, as if the stones themselves remember every hymn, every offering, every soul that sought answers in their ancient silence. Along the winding banks of the Tom River, just outside the bustling city of Tomsk, lies a collection of boulders that seem to whisper in a language of symbols. These massive stones, some as large as cars, bear intricate carvings of elk, birds, and enigmatic geometric patterns, petroglyphs etched by hands lost to time. Unlike the towering monoliths of Gornaya Shoria or the sacred pillars of Olkhon, the Tomsk petroglyphs don't dominate the landscape with sheer size. Their power lies in the stories they might tell, stories that dance between art and code, between the familiar and the unknowable. The most striking carvings depict animals with almost kinetic energy: elk with sweeping antlers, birds mid-flight, even what some researchers interpret as mythic beasts. The lines are fluid, confident, as if the artists weren't just recording what they saw but channeling something deeper. Indigenous Ket and Selkirk peoples, whose ancestors have lived in this region for millennia, recognize some symbols from their own oral traditions, particularly the elk, a revered creature in Siberian shamanism. Yet other carvings defy interpretation: concentric circles, zigzagging lines, and patterns that resemble celestial maps. Archaeologists are divided. Some argue these petroglyphs are purely artistic, a prehistoric gallery showcasing the natural world through the eyes of hunter-gatherers. Others see something more deliberate, a proto-writing system or ritual markings meant to communicate with spirits. The debate hinges on repetition. Certain symbols recur across multiple boulders, arranged in sequences that feel too ordered to be random. One theory suggests they could be territorial markers, guiding nomadic clans to hunting grounds or sacred sites. Another proposes they functioned as seasonal calendars, their patterns aligning with solstices or animal migrations. The mystery deepens when you consider the tools used. The boulders are made of hard granite, yet the carvings show no signs of rough chiseling. Instead, the grooves are smooth, almost polished. Traditional stone tools would have struggled to achieve such precision, leading some to speculate about lost techniques, perhaps the use of metal implements far earlier than previously believed, or even abrasives derived from local quartz deposits. Local legends add another layer. Ket elders speak of a shaman who could sing to the stones, making them soft enough to carve with his bare hands. While dismissed as myth, the story resonates oddly with the petroglyphs' almost fluid lines. Meanwhile, Soviet-era researchers documented faint magnetic anomalies near some of the most densely carved boulders, though whether this is coincidence or something more significant remains unproven. Time hasn't been kind to the petroglyphs. Exposure to wind, water, and in recent decades urban pollution has eroded some carvings to near invisibility. Efforts to preserve them have sparked controversy, with some advocating for protective enclosures and others warning that removing the stones from their natural context would sever their spiritual connection to the land. What's undeniable is the pull these stones exert on those who encounter them. Stand close, and you might catch yourself tracing the grooves with your fingers, as if touching them could unlock their secrets. Whether art, language, or something in between, the Tomsk petroglyphs refuse to be neatly categorized. They are fragments of a conversation started thousands of years ago, a dialogue carved in stone that we're only now learning how to hear. The vast, windswept plains of Caucasia hold a secret written in stone rows of ancient men, here standing sentinel under the endless Siberian sky. These weathered megaliths, some reaching twice the height of a person, stretch across the landscape in cryptic arrangements, their alignments too deliberate to dismiss as random. Unlike solitary monoliths or stacked dolmens, the Caucasia men here form clear patterns, circles, spirals, even what appear to be arrow-like formations pointing toward distant horizons. What message were their builders trying to convey? Archaeologists have long debated their purpose. Some argue these stones served as boundary markers, dividing territorial claims between ancient nomadic clans. Others see them as ritual sites where ceremonies unfolded under the watchful gaze of the stones. The latter theory gains traction from the discovery of charred bones and ceramic shards near several clusters, suggesting offerings or feasts. But the most tantalizing clue lies beneath the surface. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed buried stone pavements connecting some menhirs, hinting at a complexity beyond mere markers, perhaps pathways for processions or symbolic journeys. Local Tuvan and Caucasus herders have their own explanations. Their oral histories describe the menhirs as frozen warriors, petrified for defying the gods. Elderly shamans still visit certain stones to conduct rituals, claiming the megaliths amplify their prayers. Intriguingly, modern visitors report strange phenomena near the sites: camera batteries draining inexplicably, compass needles spinning wildly, even an unsettling sense of being watched despite the open terrain. Scientific expeditions have measured unusual electromagnetic fluctuations around the stones, though whether these stem from mineral deposits or something more enigmatic remains unresolved. One formation, known as the sunjuki or chests, stands out. Here, menhirs align with striking precision to frame the sunrise during equinoxes, casting elongated shadows that intersect at a central stone. Russian researcher Vitaly Larishev spent decades studying these alignments, proposing that Sunjuki functioned as an astronomical observatory, tracking lunar cycles and seasonal shifts. His team even identified petroglyphs on nearby cliffs depicting what might be star maps, further strengthening the connection between the stones and the cosmos. Yet mysteries linger. Why do some menhirs show signs of deliberate heating, their surfaces blackened as if exposed to intense fire? Were they part of purification rites, or could they have served as primitive signaling beacons across the steppe? Without written records, we're left with fragments, a puzzle where geology, archaeology, and legend intersect. The Caucasia menhirs don't just stand against time. They challenge it, silently demanding we reconsider the sophistication of those who shaped this land millennia ago. Deep in the Republic of Karelia, where dense forests give way to an otherworldly plateau, Votavara Mountain rises like a stage set for the supernatural. Scattered across its windswept summit are boulders that defy gravity, massive stones balanced impossibly on tiny points of contact, as if placed by an unseen hand. Even stranger are the smooth, stair-like depressions carved directly into the bedrock, their steps too uniform to dismiss as natural erosion. This is Votavara, Siberia's answer to Stonehenge, where every rock formation seems to whisper the same haunting question: are we looking at the work of glaciers or the fingerprints of an ancient civilization? The mountain's most infamous feature, the Stairway to Heaven, is a sequence of 50 shallow steps ascending a granite slope. Each tread is roughly the same height, with edges that appear unnaturally straight. Geologists argue these could be the result of freeze-thaw cycles, where water seeps into cracks, freezes, and splits the rock over millennia. But locals and alternative researchers counter that the regularity of the steps, coupled with their placement along what seems like a deliberate pathway, suggests human intervention. Adding fuel to the debate are nearby boulders with smooth, bowl-like indentations, some perfectly circular, that resemble primitive mortars or ritual basins found at sacred sites worldwide. Then there are the sades, the Kaerlean name for the precariously balanced stones. Some perch on smaller rocks at angles that seem to violate physics, while others appear to have been deliberately propped up with wedges. Indigenous Sami people revere these formations as dwelling places for spirits, and modern visitors report an eerie stillness around them, as if the air itself holds its breath. Scientists maintain that glacial retreat could have deposited these boulders in their precarious positions during the last ice age. Yet the sheer number of balanced stones in one concentrated area, coupled with their frequent alignment along ley lines, has led some to speculate about deliberate placement. The mountain's magnetism, both literal and metaphorical, adds another layer of intrigue. Compasses behave erratically near certain rocks, and electronic devices often malfunction without explanation. Researchers have documented localized magnetic anomalies, though whether these stem from mineral deposits or some other phenomenon remains unclear. Local legends speak of Votavara as a thin place, where the barrier between worlds grows porous. Elderly residents recount tales of vanished hikers and strange lights, while others claim to have heard disembodied chanting echoing across the plateau at dusk. Perhaps most compelling are the petroglyphs found near the summit, crude carvings of spirals and sun symbols etched into the stone. While their age is uncertain, their style matches motifs found at nearby archaeological sites dating back 3,000 years. Could these markings be the signature of a megalithic culture that once revered this mountain, or are they the work of later peoples who, like us, were drawn to the site's uncanny energy? What's undeniable is the atmosphere that clings to Votavara. Even skeptics admit the mountain feels different, a place where logic and legend collide. Whether shaped by glaciers or human hands, its stones stand as silent witnesses to forces we're only beginning to understand. In the end, Votavara refuses to be categorized, its mysteries as balanced and precarious as the rocks that crown its summit. Tucked away in the rugged wilderness of Krasnoyarsk Krai, the Ergaki Park stone city emerges from the mist like the skeletal remains of some ancient metropolis. These towering rock formations, some stretching over 50 meters high, cluster together in labyrinthine formations, their jagged silhouettes resembling crumbling towers, arches, and fortresses frozen mid-collapse. It's no wonder locals call this place the City of Giants. Standing among these stones, you half expect to hear the echoes of footsteps from a civilization long vanished. The geology behind these spires is dramatic enough on its own. Formed over millions of years, the rocks were sculpted by relentless wind, ice, and seismic shifts, leaving behind these surreal pinnacles. But what really sets Ergaki apart are the stories woven into its cracks. Climbers who have scaled these formations report unsettling phenomena, whispers carried on the wind when no one else is nearby, or the faint sound of distant drums echoing through the canyons at dusk. Some attribute these noises to natural acoustics, the wind funneling through narrow fissures. Others, however, swear the sounds are too rhythmic, too deliberate to be mere coincidence. One of the most notorious spots is the Sleeping Sayan, a rock formation said to resemble a slumbering warrior. According to local Tuvan and Ket legends, this is the petrified form of a mythical hero who vowed to guard the mountains forever. Visitors who camp near it often speak of vivid dreams, visions of towering figures clad in archaic armor, or snatches of an unfamiliar language murmuring just beyond comprehension. Scientists dismiss these accounts as the product of high-altitude hypoxia or overactive imaginations, but the consistency of the reports is striking. Even park rangers, typically the first to debunk superstitions, admit there's something unnerving about the way fog clings to certain stones at dawn, as if reluctant to reveal what lies beneath. The park's peculiar energy isn't limited to folklore. Certain rock faces bear strange, polished grooves, not the rough scrapes of glaciers, but smooth, almost deliberate channels that spiral and intersect in geometric patterns. Researchers are divided. Some argue these markings were created by ancient peoples using primitive grinding tools, possibly for ritual purposes. Others point to the presence of rare magnetic minerals in the rock, suggesting natural electromagnetic forces might have played a role. Then there are the singing stones, flat slabs that emit a low, resonant hum when struck, a phenomenon documented at sacred sites from the Scottish Highlands to the deserts of Peru. For adventurers willing to brave the park's treacherous trails, the rewards extend beyond the eerie atmosphere. At sunrise, when the first light strikes the highest spires, the entire city seems to ignite in shades of gold and crimson, casting elongated shadows that dance across the valley floor. It's during these moments that Ergaki feels most alive, as if the stones themselves are stirring from some ancient slumber. Whether you come for the climbing, the legends, or simply to stand in the presence of something inexplicable, one thing is certain. This is a place where the line between geology and myth doesn't just blur, it vanishes altogether. High on the wind-swept Yukok Plateau, near the borders of Russia, Mongolia, and China, the land holds a secret circles within circles, stones laid with quiet intention. These concentric rings, some no wider than a campfire's glow, others spanning dozens of meters, mark the passage of the Pazyryk people, a nomadic culture that thrived here over 2,000 years ago. But these aren't just remnants of forgotten rituals, they're whispers of a world, where the living and the dead shared the same windswept stage. The Pazyryk were masters of the high-altitude steppe, their lives woven into the rhythms of horses and seasons. Their burial mounds or kurgans dot the plateau, many hiding treasures frozen in time, elaborate tattoos preserved on mummified skin, intricate felt hangings, even chariots buried as offerings. But the stone circles are different. Unlike the grand kurgans built for chieftains, these rings feel democratic, scattered across the landscape as if marking something more ephemeral. Some encase shallow pits, likely the remains of cremations, while others stand empty, their purpose as elusive as the plateau's shifting mist. What makes these circles truly fascinating is their alignment with the land itself. Many cluster near natural landmarks, rock outcrops shaped like animals, springs believed to hold healing power. For the Pazyryk, geography wasn't just backdrop, it was sacred text. The plateau's very location, straddling the intersection of three modern nations, may have held symbolic weight, a meeting point of worlds where earth touched sky and the veil between realms grew thin. Even today, local Altai people speak of Yukok as a place of power where shamans journey to commune with spirits. The circles themselves are deceptively simple. Flat stones, often unworked, arranged with deliberate spacing, yet their geometry hints at deeper knowledge. Some mirror the patterns of stars visible during key celestial events like the solstices. Others seem to chart the migratory paths of animals, guides for both the living and the dead. Archaeologists have noted parallels with stone circles from the British Isles to Mongolia, a shared architectural language that suggests these ideas flowed along ancient trade routes like whispers on the wind. But Yukok stones guard darker secrets too. In the 90s, the excavation of a Pazyryk burial mound revealed the famous Ice Maiden, a tattooed priestess whose body had been preserved in permafrost. Nearby, researchers found horses sacrificed in her honor, their bodies arranged in precise, almost ritualistic patterns. The proximity of these findings to the stone circles has led some to speculate that Yukok wasn't just a burial ground. It was a liminal space, a doorway between worlds where ceremonies unfolded under the watchful eyes of ancestors. Modern visitors to the plateau report more intangible mysteries. Photographs develop with strange light anomalies. Compasses spin erratically near certain circles, as if the stones themselves hold residual energy. Scientists attribute this to mineral deposits, but for those who have stood in the center of these rings, the explanation feels insufficient. There's a hush here, a silence so deep it hums. Whether that's the weight of history or something more ineffable depends on who you ask. the Yukok circles endure as both artifact and enigma. They don't tower like Gornaya Shoria's monoliths or gleam like Altai's white stones. Their power lies in their subtlety, a reminder that sacred spaces needn't be grand to resonate across millennia. In their quiet geometry, they map not just the Paisaric's world, but the universal human yearning to mark our passage to say, we were here beneath the same endless sky. Hidden deep in the southern Siberian wilderness, where the taiga clings to rugged mountain slopes, the Shoria dragon teeth rise from the earth like the fossilized spines of some ancient beast. These jagged megaliths, some towering over 5 meters tall, erupt from the landscape in uneven rows, their sharp, angular profiles slicing through mist and shadow with an almost predatory menace. To stumble upon them is to feel an instinctive unease, as if you've wandered into the maw of a slumbering creature frozen in stone. Local shore tribes whose ancestors have lived in these mountains for centuries tell stories of a great dragon that once terrorized the land. According to legend, the beast was struck down by celestial forces, its teeth shattering as it fell, embedding themselves in the earth to form these eerie formations. While modern geologists dismiss such tales as colorful folklore, even they can't deny the uncanny uniformity of the stones. Unlike most natural rock formations which fracture along irregular lines, the dragon teeth exhibit striking symmetry, their edges aligned in parallel rows like the palisade of some prehistoric fortress. The defensive theory isn't without merit. Some researchers argue the formations resemble the remains of an ancient perimeter wall, perhaps built by an unknown culture to guard against invaders. Similar toothed fortifications have been found in Mongolia and the Caucasus, though none match the sheer scale or odd placement of the Shoria stones. Why erect such a barrier here in this remote stretch of wilderness? If it was a fortress, where are the remnants of dwellings, tools, or battle debris? The absence of accompanying artifacts only deepens the riddle. Then there's the composition of the stones themselves. Spectroscopy reveals traces of rare minerals not typically found in the surrounding bedrock, hinting at the possibility they were transported from elsewhere. Even more baffling are the burn marks, dark, glassy patches on some megaliths that suggest exposure to extreme heat, possibly from deliberate fire setting or, as fringe theorists propose, some form of ancient energy weapon. Visitors to the site describe an unsettling quiet, broken only by the occasional crack of shifting rock. Some report a prickling sensation on their skin when standing near certain stones, as if charged by residual energy. Scientists attribute this to static electricity generated by the region's unique geology, but for those who have felt it, the explanation feels inadequate. The dragon teeth don't just occupy this landscape, they dominate it, exuding a presence that lingers long after you've turned your back on their jagged silhouettes. Whether natural oddity, forgotten fortification, or the remnants of a myth made real, one truth remains: these stones defy simple categorization. They stand as silent sentinels of a past we're only beginning to decipher, their secrets locked in the very rock that refuses to yield them. Winding through the rugged landscape of southern Siberia, the Yenisei River carves a path past one of the region's most perplexing structures, crumbling stone walls that defy both time and explanation. Stretching along the riverbanks like the skeletal remains of a forgotten stronghold, these mortarless formations bear an uncanny resemblance to the precision-cut masonry of the Inca. Massive blocks, some weighing several tons, fit together with seams so tight that not even a blade of grass can wedge between them. Yet, unlike the famed walls of Cusco, these stones stand without ceremony, their origins erased by centuries of wind and water. Were they once part of a mighty fortress, or is nature itself the architect behind this illusion of design? The wall's construction raises immediate questions. How could ancient builders, assuming they existed at all, have quarried, transported, and positioned such enormous stones without mortar to bind them? the nearest suitable rock sources lie kilometers away across terrain that would challenge modern machinery. Local Ket and Tuvan legends speak of a race of giants who shaped the land in primordial times, their hands capable of moving mountains. While dismissed as myth, these stories hint at a cultural memory of something extraordinary, a time when the impossible seemed within reach. Geologists, however, propose a far less dramatic explanation. They point to the region's violent seismic history, suggesting that tectonic shifts could have fractured bedrock into these deceptively geometric patterns. Freeze-thaw cycles might then have further sculpted the stones, smoothing edges and creating the illusion of deliberate placement. It's a compelling argument except for one stubborn detail. Certain sections of the wall curve in deliberate arcs, their stones taper to maintain the curve, a feature rarely seen in natural formations. Could erosion really account for such precise geometry, or does it hint at human intervention? Adding to the intrigue are scattered petroglyphs nearby, their symbols echoing those found at confirmed archaeological sites across Siberia. Some depict warriors with spears, others what appear to be fortified structures. Could these carvings be blueprints, records of the wall's construction, or merely coincidental art? Without definitive dating, the connection remains speculative. Even more tantalizing are anomalies in the stone itself. Several blocks exhibit drill marks and striations reminiscent of ancient quarrying techniques, though their weathering makes it impossible to determine whether they're the work of tools or natural abrasion. Then there's the question of purpose. If human-built, were these walls defensive, shielding a settlement from invaders? Or did they serve a spiritual function, marking a boundary between the mundane and the sacred? The Yenisei has long been a lifeline for Siberian peoples, its waters threading through countless myths as a conduit between worlds. Perhaps the stones were never meant to keep people out, but to guide them, a physical manifestation of some deeper, forgotten ritual. Modern explorers who have walked the length of these walls describe an unsettling sensation, as if the stones are watching. Some report odd electromagnetic readings, their devices flickering near certain sections, though whether this stems from mineral deposits or something more enigmatic remains unresolved. Even skeptics admit the site exudes an aura of intentionality, as if every block were placed with a purpose we've yet to decipher. Whether shaped by human hands or the patient artifice of geology, the Yenisei walls stand as a silent provocation. They refuse to be easily categorized, straddling the line between the natural and the man-made, between history and mystery. Until new evidence comes to light, they'll keep their secrets, their stones whispering questions that echo across the river's restless currents. Deep in the Bariacean highlands, where the Siberian steppe meets the foothills of the Sayan mountains, a cluster of basalt columns hums with an eerie, almost supernatural resonance. Known to locals as the singing stones, these weathered pillars emit low, harmonic tones when the wind rushes through their fissures, a natural phenomenon that has echoed through these valleys for centuries. To the indigenous Bariat people, the stones aren't just geological curiosities. They're living instruments of the spirits, their music a bridge between the earthly and the divine. The science behind these haunting sounds is as fascinating as the legends. Each column, formed by ancient volcanic activity, acts like a massive flute. As wind gusts funnel through narrow cracks and hollows, the air vibrates at specific frequencies, producing tones that range from deep drones to ethereal whistles. Acoustic archaeologists have mapped these vibrations, noting how the stone's unique geometry, their height, spacing, and internal cavities creates a natural soundscape unlike any other. Some researchers compare the effect to the famous singing sands of deserts, but the Bariaceous stones possess a richer, more melodic quality, as if the earth itself were sighing. For Buddhist monks who have long pilgrimaged here, the stones are more than a marvel of physics. They're a sacred orchestra, their harmonies believed to purify the mind and align the listener with cosmic energies. Lamas have been known to meditate for hours near the columns, attuning themselves to the vibrations, which they say mirror the primordial arm of creation. This spiritual connection isn't unique to Siberia. Similar resonant sites like the ringing rocks of Pennsylvania or Ireland's Beneglin stones have drawn reverence across cultures, suggesting a universal human response to landscapes that literally speak. Yet the singing stones guard a darker mystery. Soviet-era researchers documented an anomaly. The tones sometimes shift unpredictably, even in calm weather, as if the stones are reacting to unseen forces. One expedition in the 1970s recorded infrasound frequencies too low for human ears emanating from the site during thunderstorms, a phenomenon still unexplained. Locals whisper that the stones remember violence, citing an old legend about a Mongol warlord who slew a shaman at the site, after which the columns fell silent for a generation. Whether myth or metaphor, the story underscores how deeply sound and memory intertwine here. Modern visitors describe an uncanny emotional pull when the stones sing. Some report feelings of profound calm, others a creeping unease, as if the music carries echoes of something ancient and unseen. Scientists speculate these reactions might stem from the infrasound's effect on the brain, which can trigger everything from awe to anxiety. But for the Bariat people, the explanation is simpler. The stones choose who hears their true voice. As the wind rises and the pillars begin their otherworldly chorus, it's impossible not to wonder, are we listening to the earth's idle hum, or a message from a time when the land itself was alive with intention? The singing stones offer no easy answers, only their timeless refrain, drifting like a prayer across the steppe. In the remote valleys of Taiva, where the grasslands stretch unbroken to the horizon, flat-topped megaliths rise from the earth like stone altars waiting for an offering. These weathered platforms, some as large as banquet tables, are scattered across the landscape with a quiet intentionality, their surfaces smoothed by centuries of wind, rain, and perhaps something more deliberate. To the untrained eye, they might seem like natural rock formations, but look closer. The edges are too straight, the tops too level, their placements too aligned with the arc of the sun. These are the Taiva megalithic altars, and their secrets are written in both stone and sky. Local Tuvan herders have long known the power of these stones. Shamans still use them for rituals, laying out offerings of juniper branches, fermented milk, and ribbons that flutter like prayers in the wind. The altars are living spaces to the Tuvan people, not relics of the past, but thresholds where the physical and spiritual worlds meet. One particularly striking site, known as Heaven's Table, aligns perfectly with the summer solstice sunrise. On that morning, the first light spills across the flat surface as if igniting it, a phenomenon that draws both modern pilgrims and curious researchers. The precision of this alignment is hard to dismiss as coincidence. If these stones were merely natural formations, why do so many face the same celestial events? Archaeologists are divided. Some argue the altars were sacrificial platforms, pointing to faint blood residues detected on a few stones, traces of ancient ceremonies where animals, and possibly even humans, were offered to the gods. Others propose a more practical function, suggesting they served as astronomical markers for nomadic clans, helping them track the seasons for migration and planting. The debate sharpens when you consider the altar's construction. Unlike the massive quarried blocks of Gornaya, Shoria, these stones appear to have been carefully selected for their flatness, then subtly shaped by human hands. Chisel marks, though weathered, can still be seen on some edges, their patterns matching primitive tools found in nearby Bronze Age settlements. Then there's the mystery of the missing context. If these were ritual sites, where are the surrounding artifacts, the pottery shards, the burial mounds, the signs of sustained habitation? The altars stand in eerie isolation, as if their builders left nothing behind but the stones themselves. Some researchers speculate that the Tuvan's ancestors were semi-nomadic, using these sites intermittently and carrying their belongings with them. others wonder if the altars were deliberately placed far from settlements, meant to be accessed only during sacred times. The most compelling clues might lie in the stars themselves. Tuvan cosmology is rich with celestial lore, their shamans claiming the ability to ride the Milky Way as a bridge between worlds. Certain altars align not just with solstices, but with the rise of key stars like Sirius and Vega, celestial beings in Tuvan myth. Could these stones have functioned as a kind of earthly mirror to the heavens, a place where time was measured not in days but in the slow dance of constellations? Modern technology has only deepened the enigma. Recent LiDAR scans revealed hidden grooves near some altars, channels that may have funneled liquids, blood, water, or sacred brews during ceremonies. Even more intriguing are the acoustic properties of the stones. When struck, some emit a low, resonant hum, similar to the singing stones of Baryasha. Was sound part of the ritual? Did the altars speak during ceremonies, their vibrations amplifying the shaman's chants? Standing before one of these ancient platforms at dusk, as the wind whispers through the grass and the last light glows on the stone, it's easy to feel the weight of the unanswered. The Taiva altars don't just challenge our understanding of prehistoric Siberia, they invite us to reconsider the very nature of sacred space. Whether astronomical tools, sacrificial stages, or portals to the divine, their true purpose may remain just out of reach, carried away on the same winds that have smoothed their surfaces for millennia. Rising from the Siberian wilderness like a forgotten citadel, the Putorana Plateau remains one of Earth's last great enigmas. This vast basalt tableland, recognized by UNESCO for its otherworldly beauty, hides geometric stone formations so precise they seem to mock the very idea of randomness. Reaching this remote expanse is a feat in itself, a journey requiring helicopters or weeks of arduous trekking through trackless taiga, where temperatures swing from blistering summers to winters that freeze the breath in your lungs. Yet for those who brave the isolation, the plateau offers rewards beyond imagination, a landscape where geology and mystery collide. The most striking formations are the so-called stone cities, clusters of hexagonal basalt columns stacked with near mathematical precision. These natural pillars, formed by ancient lava flows cooling into geometric fractures, resemble the ruins of some alien metropolis, but look closer and the line between nature and artifice blurs. Among these columns lie arrangements that defy easy explanation, circular platforms of fitted stone, aligned rows reminiscent of processional pathways, even what appear to be crude staircases ascending the plateau's cliffs. Geologists insist these are quirks of erosion, yet the consistency of these features across multiple sites raises questions. Could early humans have modified what nature began? The plateau's isolation only deepens the riddle. Unlike Siberia's other megalithic sites, Putorana shows little evidence of sustained habitation. No pottery shards, no burial mounds, no traces of fire pits, just the stones themselves standing silent guard over the tundra. But absence of proof isn't proof of absence. Archaeologists note that the plateau sits at the crossroads of ancient migration routes, used for millennia by the indigenous Evenk and Dolgan peoples as a seasonal hunting ground. Their oral histories speak of the plateau as a land of the gods, a place where shamans ventured to commune with spirits. Could these geometric formations have served as ritual spaces, visited briefly then left untouched? Then there's the enigma of the plateau's acoustics. Certain rock formations amplify sound unnaturally, turning whispers into echoes that ripple across the cliffs. In the stillness of the Arctic twilight, these acoustic anomalies take on an almost ceremonial quality. Researchers have documented similar sound-enhancing features at sacred sites from Newgrange in Ireland to the Oracle Chamber at Malta's Hypogeum, a curious thread linking disparate cultures. Whether by accident or design, Putorana's singing stones may have been a draw for ancient pilgrims seeking voices from the beyond. What truly sets Putorana apart is its timelessness. While most megalithic sites bear the scars of looters or modern development, the plateau's brutal climate and remoteness have preserved it in a state of suspended animation. Permafrost locks away secrets that might elsewhere have crumbled to dust, and the sheer scale of the landscape, larger than the entire United Kingdom, means vast swaths remain unexplored. Satellite imagery hints at undiscovered formations deeper in the wilderness, their true nature visible only from the air. Standing on the plateau's edge, where basalt cliffs plunge into glacial lakes, it's hard not to feel the weight of the unsolved. These stones predate written history, yet they pulse with a quiet insistence, as if the plateau itself is waiting for someone to listen. Whether geological marvel or open-air temple, Putorana refuses to be defined, its secrets guarded by distance, ice, and the whispered legends of those who came before. Scattered across the frozen expanses of the Sakha Republic, giant stone cauldrons emerge from the earth like the abandoned cookware of gods. These massive hemispherical depressions, some spanning over 3 meters wide, cradle pools of dark, still water, mirrors reflecting the endless Siberian sky. To the untrained eye, they might resemble ordinary rock formations carved by time, but their uncanny uniformity and placement in clusters across the tundra has fueled debates for generations. Are these the scars of ancient volcanoes, or evidence of a lost civilization that mastered stone and fire? The geological explanation points to potholes, hollows formed by swirling water and debris during glacial meltwater floods thousands of years ago. Similar features exist in other Arctic regions, shaped by the relentless grind of ice and stone. Yet the Sakha cauldrons stand apart. Their interiors are suspiciously smooth, almost polished, with rims that curve with a symmetry rarely seen in natural erosion. Some even exhibit vitrified patches where the rock surface appears glassy, as if subjected to extreme heat. This has led fringe researchers to propose an audacious alternative, that these were molds used by an advanced prehistoric culture to cast metal on a colossal scale. Local Yakut legends lend eerie weight to this theory. Oral histories speak of the Karati, a race of master smiths who forged weapons and tools in giant stone crucibles before vanishing into myth. These stories describe molten metal being poured into earth-bound molds, with the resulting products used to build cities that touch the sky. While such tales are often dismissed, they find curious echoes in archaeological finds nearby. Bronze Age artifacts uncovered in Yakutia show metallurgical sophistication, including alloys that would have required furnaces reaching temperatures over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Could the cauldrons have been part of this forgotten industrial network? Skeptics counter that the region's volcanic past offers a simpler answer. The Sakha Republic sits atop the Siberian Traps, a vast igneous province responsible for Earth's most catastrophic extinction event 250 million years ago. Residual geothermal activity could have created steam explosions, blasting these perfect hollows into the bedrock. Proponents of this theory highlight the cauldron's proximity to known volcanic vents and their mineral composition, which matches local basalt flows. But this doesn't fully explain why similar formations aren't found in other parts of the traps, or why some cauldrons align in straight rows, a pattern seldom seen in natural geological features. A third, more unsettling possibility bridges both worlds. Indigenous shamans have long used certain cauldrons for rituals, claiming the water within holds healing properties. Modern tests reveal some pools contain high levels of rare minerals, including lithium and dissolved silica. When exposed to moonlight, a few even emit faint bioluminescence, a phenomenon documented by researchers but still unexplained. Could these sites have been sacred spaces where geology and human ingenuity intersected? Places where ancient peoples harnessed natural thermal vents or mineral-rich springs for both practical and spiritual ends? The truth, as always in Siberia, remains frozen in ambiguity. What's undeniable is the cauldron's magnetism. standing beside one at twilight as the water's surface catches the last crimson streaks of sunset. It's easy to imagine the ghosts of smiths or spirits hovering at the edges of perception. Whether volcanic accident, ancient workshop, or something stranger still, these stone bowls hold more than water. They hold the weight of centuries of wandering, their depths reflecting not just the sky, but the unquenchable human thirst for answers. High in the Altai mountains, where snow-capped peaks brush against the heavens, a stone archway frames the sky like a portal to another world. This weathered megalith, known to local Buddhist monks as the gateway to Shambhala, straddles the line between geology and legend, its smooth, curved opening inviting travelers to step through into realms spoken of only in whispers. According to ancient Tibetan texts, Shambhala is a hidden paradise, a kingdom of enlightened beings concealed somewhere beyond the reach of ordinary mortals. Could this unassuming rock formation be the literal threshold to that fabled land, or simply a trick of wind and time? The arch itself is a marvel of symmetry. Spanning roughly 4 meters across, its proportions are so balanced that early European explorers initially assumed it must be man-made. The upper curve follows a near-perfect semicircle, while the supporting pillars show unusual uniformity in their thickness, features rarely seen in natural rock bridges. Local herders recount stories passed down through generations, describing how certain monks would meditate beneath the arch during specific lunar phases, claiming to glimpse shimmering valleys beyond it. These visions, they say, were fleeting moments when the veil between worlds grew thin enough to peer through. Geologists offer a more down-to-earth explanation. The Altai Mountains are a patchwork of granite and limestone, both prone to erosion by freeze-thaw cycles. Over millennia, water seeping into cracks could have widened fissures, eventually carving out this graceful opening. Yet even experts concede the arch's precision is unusual. Most natural bridges exhibit jagged edges or uneven spans, shaped by random fractures. The gateway's smooth contours, particularly along its inner curve, suggest a degree of selective erosion that borders on artistic. Could ancient hands have refined what nature began, polishing the stone to enhance its sacred geometry? Supporting the artificial theory are faint carvings near the base of the structure, spirals and lotus motifs worn nearly smooth by time but still detectable under raking light. These symbols mirror those found in Tibetan Buddhist art, particularly in depictions of Shambhala's mythical palaces. Even more intriguing are the acoustic properties of the arch. When struck lightly, the lintel stone emits a clear, bell-like tone that resonates across the valley, a phenomenon documented at ritual sites worldwide, from Mayan temples to Greek oracles. For monks who consider sound a conduit to enlightenment, this sonic signature would have held profound significance. The debate takes a mystical turn when examining the gateway's alignment. During the summer solstice, the rising sun passes directly through the arch, casting a beam that illuminates a specific boulder 50 meters to the west. That boulder, in turn, bears weathered cup marks arranged in a pattern resembling the Big Dipper, a constellation revered in Altai cosmology as the Heavenly Horsemen. Such precise celestial choreography seems unlikely to arise by chance, hinting at deliberate astronomical intent. Yet for all the tantalizing clues, hard evidence remains elusive. No tools or artifacts have been found nearby to confirm human modification. The carvings, while suggestive, could be natural weathering patterns given form by hopeful interpretation. Even the solstice alignment might be coincidental, nature's grand spectacle, misunderstood as design. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between. Indigenous Tuvan and Altai peoples have long viewed the landscape as a living entity where mountains breathe and stones remember. In their worldview, the distinction between natural and artificial holds little meaning. What matters is the sacredness imbued by centuries of reverence. Whether shaped by glaciers or lamas, the gateway to Shambhala endures as a testament to humanity's hunger for the transcendent. A stone embrace around the eternal question, what lies beyond? Standing before it at dawn, as the first light paints the arch in gold, one thing becomes clear. Some thresholds aren't meant to be crossed so much as contemplated, their power lying not in where they lead, but in the stories they inspire us to carry forward. Deep in the rugged embrace of the Kuznets-Galatau Mountains, nature plays a perplexing game of geometry. Stone spheres, some as large as cars, lie scattered across the slopes like marbles dropped by a giant. These nearly perfect orbs, weathered smooth by centuries of wind and rain, challenge the boundary between natural wonder and human handiwork. At first glance, they seem impossibly precise, their curves so even, their surfaces so uniform, it's hard to believe they weren't shaped by tools. Yet there they sit, nestled among wildflowers and scree, as if waiting for someone to unravel their riddle. The resemblance to Costa Rica's famed stone spheres is uncanny. Like their Central American counterparts, the Kuznets-Galatau spheres vary in size, from modest boulders to massive globes over 2 meters in diameter. But while Costa Rica's stones were definitively carved by the Dikwis culture between 600 and 1500 years ago, the Siberian spheres lack any obvious signs of human intervention. No chisel marks, no surrounding artifacts, just the stones themselves, silent and enigmatic. This absence of context has sparked fierce debate. Could these really be the work of an ancient, undocumented civilization, or is there a geological explanation even more extraordinary? Geologists lean toward the latter, proposing a process called concretion. Over millennia, minerals in sediment can accumulate around a nucleus, a shell or pebble, binding particles together into a hardened mass. As softer surrounding rock erodes, these spherical concretions emerge, sometimes with startling symmetry. Similar formations exist worldwide, from the Moeraki boulders of New Zealand to the cannonball-like spheres of Bosnia. Yet even this plausible theory stumbles when confronted with the Kuznets-Galatau stones. Many show a uniformity that exceeds typical concretion, their surfaces almost polished. Some even cluster in deliberate-looking arrangements, as if placed with intent. Local Shor and Teluat peoples, whose ancestors have inhabited these mountains for generations, weave tales around the spheres. One legend describes them as the petrified eggs of a celestial bird, laid during the world's creation. Another claims they're the weapons of mountain spirits, hurled during ancient battles and frozen in stone. These stories, passed down through oral tradition, hint at a truth beyond geology, a cultural memory, perhaps, of a time when the stones held deeper significance. Modern researchers have uncovered tantalizing clues. A handful of spheres sit atop raised earthen platforms, suggesting they were deliberately positioned. Others align with solstice sunrises, their shadows tracing precise paths across ritual-like depressions in the ground. The most provocative find: a few spheres bear faint, concentric carvings, spirals, and rings that mirror symbols found at megalithic sites across Eurasia. Could these markings be the signature of a lost culture that revered the spheres as sacred objects? The mystery deepens when you consider the logistical challenges. Moving these massive orbs even a short distance would require sophisticated engineering levers, ramps, or even floating them on log rafts across nearby rivers. If humans were involved, their efforts speak to a purpose profound enough to justify such labor. Were the spheres astronomical markers, ritual altars, or territorial symbols? Without written records, we're left to piece together their story from whispers in the stone. Standing among the spheres at dusk as the last light gilds their curves, it's hard not to feel their silent pull. They don't command awe like towering monoliths or ancient temples. Their power lies in their simplicity, a perfection of form that feels both random and deliberate, as if the earth itself paused to sculpt something beautiful. Whether shaped by time or hands long gone, the Kuznets-Galatau spheres remind us that some mysteries resist easy answers, their truths hidden in the quiet spaces between science and legend. Beneath the crystal-clear depths of Lake Baikal, sonar images reveal a sight that defies expectation: colossal stone formations stretching across the lakebed like the sunken ruins of a forgotten world. These towering slabs, some reaching heights of 5 meters, are arranged in near-perfect geometric patterns, straight lines intersecting at right angles, circular formations resembling foundations, and what appear to be deliberate alignments stretching for hundreds of meters. For archaeologists and enthusiasts alike, the discovery sparks an electrifying question. Could these be remnants of a lost civilization swallowed by the lake's rising waters, or is nature playing an elaborate trick on us? Lake Baikal, the deepest and oldest freshwater lake on Earth, has long been a cradle of mystery. Its waters hold 20% of the planet's unfrozen freshwater, and its depths remain largely unexplored. The megalithic structures, first detected during a routine sonar survey in 2008, cluster near the lake's southern basin, and area tectonic studies reveal was once dry land. Some researchers speculate that rising water levels caused by seismic shifts over millennia submerged settlements built by ancient peoples. Indigenous Bariat legends lend eerie weight to this theory, speaking of a great city that once stood on Baikal's shores before being claimed by the water spirits as punishment for human arrogance. Yet skeptics argue these formations could be glacial debris left behind by retreating ice sheets during the last ice age. Baikal's basin was carved by glaciers, and their movement could have dragged and dropped massive stones into deceptively orderly arrangements. The lake's unique currents might have further sculpted the stones over time, smoothing edges and enhancing the illusion of human craftsmanship. But this explanation struggles to account for the precision of some formations, like a 60-meter-long wall of stacked stones with seams too tight to slip a knife between. Underwater archaeology here faces staggering challenges. Baikal's depths plunge to over 1,600 meters, with frigid temperatures and crushing pressure limiting dive time. Even with submersibles, sediment layers and limited visibility obscure details. Preliminary dives have retrieved no artifacts, no pottery, tools, or bones, only the silent stones themselves. Still, tantalizing clues emerge. Side-scan sonar reveals what appear to be carved channels in some slabs, possibly for drainage or ritual purposes. Other images show stones positioned atop elevated mounds, suggesting platforms rather than random deposition. The most provocative theory bridges science and myth. Could these structures be the work of the Neolithic Kitoi culture, known to have inhabited Baikal's shores over 7,000 years ago? Their burial sites nearby show advanced stoneworking skills, and their oral traditions describe great builds near the water. Alternatively, might the formations be natural but later repurposed by humans? Ancient cultures often sanctified unusual landscapes, bending them to spiritual use. For now, Baikal's underwater megaliths remain an enigma wrapped in liquid shadows. They challenge our assumptions about prehistoric peoples and the forces that shape our world. Whether the handiwork of glaciers or a drowned society, their silent presence in the deep reminds us that history's greatest stories often lie just out of reach, waiting for technology or time to bring them to light. Deep in the Kolyma region of northeastern Siberia, a clearing pulses with a reputation as dark as the taiga that surrounds it. Locals call it the Devil's Cemetery, a place where the earth itself seems to hunger, where animals drop dead without warning and compass needles spin like drunken dancers. This isn't just superstition, it's a documented phenomenon that has baffled scientists and terrified hunters for generations. Enter the clearing and the rules of nature twist. Birds fall mid-flight, deer collapse mid-stride. Even the hardiest explorers report waves of nausea, vertigo, and an overwhelming sense of dread that lingers long after they retreat. The stories stretch back centuries, whispered by the indigenous Evenki people long before Soviet geologists took notice. Their legends describe the clearing as a mouth to the underworld, a place where malevolent spirits drain the life from anything that lingers too long. One chilling account tells of a reindeer herder who vanished in the area, only for his remains to be found weeks later, his body strangely preserved, his face frozen in a scream. Soviet expeditions in the 1930s added fuel to the lore. Survey teams reported equipment failures, sudden illnesses, and one gruesome incident where an entire team of dogs perished within minutes of entering the zone. Science offers theories but no definitive answers. The leading hypothesis points to invisible killers, natural gas seeping from fissures in the earth, perhaps carbon monoxide or hydrogen sulfide, both odorless and deadly in high concentrations. Such leaks are rare but not unheard of. Similar phenomena occur in places like Wyoming's Death Canyon or Turkey's Gates of Hell, yet tests in the Devil's Cemetery have been inconclusive. Gas detectors register spikes, but not consistently enough to explain all the deaths. Then there's the magnetism. Some researchers have recorded erratic fluctuations in the clearing's magnetic field, strong enough to scramble compasses and disorient migratory animals. Could underground deposits of magnetized ore be warping the local electromagnetic environment, disrupting biological navigation systems? Another layer of intrigue comes from the clearing's vegetation, or lack thereof. Unlike the lush taiga just meters away, the cemetery is eerily barren, its perimeter marked by a ring of stunted, twisted trees. Soil samples reveal abnormal acidity and traces of heavy metals, hinting at possible volcanic activity or a long-buried meteorite impact. Yet no crater has been found, and volcanic vents in the region have been dormant for millennia. Perhaps the most unsettling detail is the stones. Scattered across the clearing are oddly smooth rocks, some blackened as if scorched. Locals refuse to touch them, claiming they're cursed. Scientists who have examined the stones note high levels of radiation, not enough to be lethal but sufficient to raise eyebrows. Could naturally occurring uranium deposits be leaching into the soil, creating a toxic cocktail of gas, magnetism, and radiation? It's a plausible, if incomplete, explanation. But the Devil's Cemetery resists easy categorization. Visitors describe phenomena that defy conventional science: phantom whispers, sudden temperature drops, and a pervasive sense of being watched. Some researchers speculate the site might sit atop a geological fault where subterranean stresses generate infrasound frequencies too low for human ears to detect, but capable of inducing panic or even cardiac arrest in animals. Others wonder if the clearing is a rare convergence point for multiple natural anomalies, each amplifying the other's effects. What's undeniable is the weight of experience. Hunters who have skirted the clearing for decades mark it on their maps with a skull and crossbones, a warning passed down through generations. Scientists continue to visit, armed with drones and spectrometers, hoping to crack the enigma. Yet the clearing guards its secrets fiercely, yielding just enough data to sustain theories but never enough to confirm them. Whether a geological fluke, a supernatural gateway, or something in between, the Devil's Cemetery stands as a stark reminder that even in our age of satellites and sensors, some patches of Earth remain stubbornly, chillingly unknowable. From the towering megaliths of Gornaya Shoria to the haunting stone circles of the Yukok Plateau, Siberia's ancient landscape is a puzzle carved in stone. These 25 enigmatic structures, each more baffling than the last, paint a picture of a land steeped in forgotten knowledge and untold stories. Whether shaped by human hands, glacial whims, or forces we've yet to understand, they stand as silent witnesses to civilizations that may have mastered techniques lost to time. Was it an advanced prehistoric culture, a network of shamans communing with the cosmos, or something even more extraordinary? The answers, much like the stones themselves, remain tantalizingly out of reach. Siberia's role as a cradle of mysteries can't be overstated. While the pyramids of Egypt or the temples of Mesoamerica dominate mainstream archaeology, these remote megaliths challenge us to look beyond the familiar. They force us to ask how much of history is still buried beneath the taiga, waiting to rewrite what we think we know. The precision of the Sayan slabs, the celestial alignments of Ural stone circles, the eerie acoustics of Baryashi's singing stones, each site whispers of a deeper connection between ancient peoples and the land they revered. So which of these enigmas captivates you the most? Is it the gravity-defying boulders of Votavara, balanced as if by magic, or the submerged megaliths of Lake Baikal, guarding secrets in their watery depths? Drop a comment below and let us know we're as obsessed with these mysteries as you are. And if you're hungry for more deep dives into history's unsolved puzzles, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. The past has countless stories left to tell, and we're just getting started. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, some of the greatest adventures begin where the